When you look at the ruler, we're going to do the English size 1 through 12. Each of the lines are different length and each one has a specific name. Now, each inch is exactly the same and the names will be the same for each one. So if you learn 1 inch, then you learn all the other inches no matter how long the tape measure is, or the ruler, or the yardstick. Here's where we're going to take out the clean sheet of notebook paper. Place it on your table vertically so the 3 holes are down the left-hand side. Now, don't write anything down until I tell you to. Now, you have a red vertical line on the left-hand side and a very faint red line on the right-hand side. And all I want you to do, again, don't write anything down until I finish the instructions and say begin. I'm going to ask you to put down a 0, then start counting 1 through 16. Try and get the same space between each and every one as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just realize that the single-digit numbers don't space, makes you want to space them farther, and then you end up having to cram the double digits, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, tightly together to try and keep it on the sheet of paper. Now, if you make a mistake, don't worry about it. Just put a single line through it, skip down 2 lines, and try it again. 0, and then make your spacing between the single digits as tight as possible. You should get about the number 10 when you get to the halfway point on the sheet, and then continue on with 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now, if you go a little bit farther than the last red vertical line, then fine, absolutely no problem. So you should have something that looks like this. Would you go ahead and begin now, please? And I'm going to stand by and wait and give you a minute or so you can go ahead and finish it up. This is supposed to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 on one line. And the red vertical line should be right over here next to 0. And the red line should be, well, next to 16 or 15 or 14, but some in that area there. All right, now the next thing I want you to do is underline each one of them. Underline not 0, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Underline each one of them. Wait a moment here to give everybody a chance, and then we'll move on to the next. But again, space out 1 through 16 if you haven't done so already, and then underline only 1 through 16. Do not underline 0, since it's not a number, it's just a placeholder. It does not need to be underlined. Okay, you should be pretty much done here, so let me go ahead and show you and get caught up, because we'll pause this in a few moments. Now, right below each of the numbers, I have to put a 0 here to make this work. This should be one large O, one large 0 here. If not, 2 small ones, that's perfectly fine. Then underneath 1, they underline, you're going to put a 16, making that 1/16. Then you're going to do the same thing and make that 2/16. Then 3/16, 4/16, 5/16, 6/16, 7/16, 8/16, 9/16, 10/16, 11/16, 12/16, 13/16, 14/16, 15/16, and 16/16. So go ahead and start putting down all 16s under every number except for 0. And now we have fractions. The numerator is the top number, the denominator is the bottom, and look, all the denominators are the same, 16 all the way across. We're going to move on to the next, and right underneath that, we're going to go ahead and start reducing the numbers. Now, when you reduce, you have to divide the top number, the numerator, and the bottom number, the denominator, by 2. Now, 2 cannot go into 1 evenly, so we can't do anything. So we're going to leave 1/16 alone because there's nothing we can do. But 2/16 we can, because 2 goes into 2 1 time, 2 goes into 16 8 times, and that will be 1/8. Now, some of you are going to try and go ahead and continue to reduce everything down to its lowest number, but don't do it. We're only doing 8s right now, and we're going to just reduce the ones that we can. And you should notice by now that only the even number, the numerators with the even numbers, can be reduced. If it's an odd number, it can't be reduced, and that must stay the same way. 3/16, 5/16, 7/16, 9/16, all the way to the end. 4/16 reduced down to 2/8. 6/16 reduced down to 3/8. 8/16 reduces down to 4/8. 10/16 reduces down to 5/8. 12/16 reduces down to 6/8. 14/16 reduces down to 7/8. 16/16 reduces down to 8/8. So only the ones with even number numerators can be reduced. Anything with an odd number, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, can't be. All right, now, next line down, we're going to do the same thing, but this time 2 goes in 8 4 times, so we're going to reduce down to fourths. Now, 1/8, since it's got an odd number in the numerator, we can't touch it, so it stays the same. 2/8 can be reduced down to 1/4. 3/8 is an odd number. 3 is an odd, we can't touch that. 4/8 can be reduced down to 2/4. 5/8 can't touch it, odd number. 6/8 we can reduce that down to 3/4. 7/8 we can't touch it because it's an odd number. 8/8 reduces down to 3/4. You can start, you seeing the pattern here? We'll talk more about that later. All right, now we're going to take 4 and divide it by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is a half. So we can't reduce 1/4 because it's got an odd number. 2/4 reduced down to half. 3/4 we can't touch it because that is an odd number. And then 4/4 can be reduced down to 2/2, and we can still do that. Now we can take it one more. We can go ahead and reduce by 2 again. 2 goes into 2. In this case, it's only 1. Right here, because 1/2 can't be reduced down because that's an odd number. Look at the pattern again. All right, see the lines here? Now, the last thing we're going to do, we're going to start putting lines. I'm going to ask you to put a horizontal line all the way across the top from 0 to 16. A horizontal line all the way across from 0 to 16, just like that. And now I want you to take vertical lines and start going down to the last number of each of the column. The last number to each of the column, and you start with 0 and all the way down to the end of the zeros. And then you start doing the same thing, going down to 16, down to 8, down to 16, down to the 4, down to the 16, down to the 8th, and just keep on going all the way down to the 16th, down to the half, down to the 2, down to 16, and do that all the way around until you get down to 1 here. Look at the lines. Did you see this pattern once before of different size lines? You should have, because isn't that the same thing as this, which is the same thing as that, which is the same thing as that, which is the same thing as that? So as you can see, we created our inch. 1/16, 1/8, 3/16, 1/4. 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, 1/2. Then 9/16, 5/8, 11/16, 3/4, 13/16, 7/8, 15/16, and 1 inch. The same thing we have here. 1/16, 1/8, 3/16, 1/4, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, 1/2, 9/16, 5/8, 11/16, 3/4, 13/16, 7/8, 15/16, 1. The same thing, isn't it?